Hi, how's everybody? Um, in my ever or never ending quest for perfection, I found a better um, selection for um, the Tao Te Ching. So we're going to be looking at that today. So sorry for keeping on changing up things, but I'd rather put out better information every time than um, keeping on with things that are not to my liking, if you will. Let's see. Okay. So this is Tao Te Ching, the Taoism of Lao Tzu explained. Oh boy. Finding the chords is always the worst part. All right. Um, Heaven is eternal and earth is lasting. How can they be eternal and lasting? Because they do not live for themselves. That is how they can be eternal. Therefore, the sage puts himself last and becomes the first, neglects himself and is preserved. Hey, Chino Nino. It is not because he is unselfish that he fulfills himself, is it not? Because he is unselfish that he fulfills himself. Hey, Sherry. So, unselfishness. The well known reward for the unselfish is the praise received. Another benefit is hinted in the example of heaven and earth. The ones who do not live for themselves will endure because the path is less straining, less of a struggle. Those who strive to get ahead are quickly fatigued and wear themselves down. Impatience and disconnect are poison to the mind, therefore, to the body as well. That's how it works. The one who chases his own happiness will never catch it. He just rushes from the cradle to the grave. He may reach far and gather a fortune, but when will he have time to enjoy it? The humble ones with modest demands are easily satisfied and therefore soon to be joyous. Their joy lasts because it is undisturbed by temptation. Such an attitude towards life is appeasing to the mind and a remedy for the body. Hey, Cap, there's no guarantee for longevity, but those who are pleased with their situation have a better chance at it than those who never get enough. That could be a symptom of stress, right? You're always chasing something. You're always stressed to get the next thing or get the next big payday. Of course, the reward for unselfishness can create a paradox. Considering such a reward, what selfish man would not try his utmost to be unselfish, at least enough to receive the benefits of it? That would be that would be selfish unselfishness. I doubt that it matters, though. We shape our lives and affect the lives of others by our deeds. not by the thoughts of them. A good deed is helpful, whatever the reason for it. Considering the sad state much of the world is in, we can't afford to be picky. A good deed does good, even if its purpose is selfish. Furthermore, it's quite possible that a selfish benefactor will be so pleased with the outcome that he forgets his original intention. That's one of the finer sides of mankind. Delight and pleasure are contagious. Unfortunately, so are bitterness and anger. Another reason for encouraging good deeds of whatever intent. Chapter 8. Supreme good is like water. Water greatly benefits all things without conflict. It flows through places that people loathe, thereby it is close to the way. A good dwelling is on the ground. A good mind is deep. A good gift is kind. A good word is sincere. A good ruler is just. A good worker is able. A good deed is timely. Where there is no conflict, there is no fault. So you can see that the way is seeking a way of eliminating conflict, right? It's it's a hey Mitch, how are you? It it's very very passive in its nature. Clearly, this chapter continues the reasoning of the previous one. Concerning the nature of good deeds, the unselfish one makes good deeds out of reflex without thinking. That's automatic when following the way. For the rest of us, it's more complicated. But we don't need to concern ourselves with the intricate fabric of ethics. When we try to make good deeds, what is far more important is that we discover what action is really for the better and what might be for the worse. We need to understand the mechanics between action and consequence in order to choose the former wisely. Lao Tzu uses the example of water, one of the basic elements of nature, existing in tremendous abundance, because it's such an important part of nature. It cannot do wrong. It shows what is natural, so we should follow its example. Hey, Justin. The essence of water is its yielding. It flows downward as if constantly aspiring to be the lowest of all. It does so with a minimum of force, rounding obstacles. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Instead of striking them, caressing its surroundings instead of tearing at them. Water willingly floats downwards, and there is no place too low for it. Still, it's essential to all living things. Although we all drink from it, the water of the world is continuously replenished from above and from below. Without it, we would perish. Indeed, for something of this magnificent importance, it's right to be modest and yielding. Not to provoke all of those who are dependent on it. The primordial sea. Lao Tzu's choice of water as an example to us all makes additional sense when we consider the significance of water in ancient myths and belief. Oops. I agree with that, Mitch. I don't think that it is without its danger, right? We can't wish to contain it. Uh, can you hear me now? Uh, yeah, I don't know what is going on. Let me. All right. Sorry about that. I got kicked from my own stream again. Well, sometimes it's got to flow uphill, I guess. Nothing we can do about it. But anyway, what I was saying, it makes its own path. It's constantly moving, um, changing the geographic features around which it flows. And since we need it, we have to move outside of its path every time it decides it's going to encroach upon our living. We shouldn't try to force it to go where we want it to go all the time. Never turns out well. So, in most cosmologies of old, the sea was regarded as the original and eternal element of the world. So, even in the Bible, when the spirit was hovering over the waters during creation, it it was it existed um, prior to creation. Couldn't agree more, Midge. So the primordial sea occurs in many creation myths And the act of creation is often one of emergence from that sea. The earth and all its creatures are born out of the sea. This is true for the biblical creation in the first book of Genesis, as well as in many other myths around the world. When Lao Tzu describes Tao, the way as something akin to water, this might be based on creation myths of old. Where already at his time, where the world was believed to have emerged from a primordial sea. If so, hey, Lucy, it's all good. Listening is a good form of therapy. I don't have many pictures or in any most of the time. Um, if so, it could almost be said that Tao actually is that primordial water, at least in essence. The way is the principle of water, the mother of all. Indeed, present science agrees that the ancestors of all the living creatures on earth emerged from the sea. That was the initial womb of life on earth. So we cannot go wrong if we make it our teacher of how to live our lives. So complicated matters made easy. Now, Lao Tzu uses the example of water when listing what is to recommend for man in several important aspects of our lives. These recommendations are straightforward enough, mostly self evident, but we should not be fooled by the simplicity of these advices. They are profound and not that easy to follow. To make our dwellings on the ground is making sure that they will stand. So, um, building our foundations on firm ground and not the sand, so that we can trust them to protect us. To keep our minds deep is to respect that there is no such thing as a simple problem and a quick solution to it. About gifts, we must understand that no matter how grand they are, they need to be beneficial to the receiver of them, and they should be given without an ulterior motive, only out of kindness. Otherwise, they are not gifts, even if that's what we call them. When we speak to each other, we need to have an honest intent, even if circumstances force us to lie. Especially, we should not misuse our praise. We must always mean it, or we rob ourselves of words to use when that's indeed the case. It may be polite of us to greet everyone we meet with a compliment, but this is just decoration that must be used with care, or we are blinded by it. For those of you from my generation or older, we like to call that a Eddie Haskell. Uh, if you know, you definitely know. There are so many moments in life when words are precious, so that's how they should always be treated. Any ruler needs to be just. See, Mitch gets it. needs to be just, no matter how difficult that may be at times. Any ruler that includes a parent settling an argument between the children, as well as an emperor deciding the fate of his captured enemy. Ruling is an act of responsibility, never to be taken lightly. Sometimes very grave decisions have to be made. Maybe so much so that no compassionate man or woman can bear to make them. But there is no blame if the decisions are just. Then the unfortunate ones who had to make them will be able to live with the memory. The milk of human decency. I like it. I like it. On the other hand, if such a decision is unjust, it will forever gnaw on the one who made it. No matter if we call it conscience or something else, this gnawing is a malady with little hope of a cure. The unjust ruler may survive such decisions, maybe even seemingly profit tremendously from them, but at least the gnawing will take its toll. It can easily plague a whole life, all the way to the very bitter end. We'll keep on watching, Mitch, just to make sure I don't steal your lines. So we can look at any number of things to where things eat away at people, and you would say that is their just desserts, or they're just evil and they're not bothered by it. Or a worker who is not competent at his craft, whatever it is, will not be very pleased with the result, nor will he enjoy all those daily hours spent on it. We need to cultivate our abilities and try to excel at our work, or there is no satisfaction. Since we all spend most of our days at work, it's very important to us that we feel fulfilled by it. Sadly, there are so many professions nowadays where people are regarded as little more than machines. Amazon. Expected to produce the simplest things in high quantities, as if that's all they can do. Automatons, right? Lao Tzu would not approve. We need to be able and to feel able, which means that we must be allowed the chance to explore our abilities properly. Otherwise, we cannot take pride in what we do. And if we fail at being pleased with how we participate in society, if there is one thing of primary importance with a good deed, it has to be timeliness. Neither too early nor too late will do, but timeliness also means that we are alert to the needs of others so that we can help them when the time comes. Agreed. If you don't love what you're doing, you shouldn't be doing it. You won't do it right. Yeah, absolutely. My brother sent me a picture from a job site this morning and was asking me about safely lifting using a spreader bar. He's just now learning the trade, being a crane operator, and the journeyman was like, "Oh, we'll go ahead and use it," and the spreader bar was completely illegal, and I'm like, No, you don't do it. This is what you got to look for. He should have told you that. He should have known that. He should have schooled you on that. Um, because I require anybody coming to my class to have a certain amount of hours with the journeyman before um, attending class. But when you when you have a journeyman that needs to be retrained on the basics, you wonder how happy they are with the job and what other things they're skipping when somebody else who may not think to call me or text me. And that's with anything we do, right? You taking pride in your job, taking enough pride in your job to question somebody who's supposed to be teaching you. So anyway, off of my tangent for that. Hey Wyatt, how you doing, bud? So, to be timely is to always be compassionate. It does not at all mean that we should postpone a good deed until we are certain that the time is good for it. So don't be waiting to make a decision until you're sure about something, right? We should always be eager to help each other. Then we will do so just in time without thought. If we practice such compassionate alertness instead of constantly watching the clock, it will be fine. Hang on a second, sirens. Uh, yeah, Justin. It is a pretty dangerous job if you don't do it right. So we had a guy 3 years ago now lose both of his legs because he took a shortcut and flipped his crane over. It was not a good sight. So let's see. A win-win. The final line of this chapter returns to the principle of water and its yielding nature. It finds its way through any terrain. This is possible. This is possible also for our actions. There is always a way to act that doesn't collide with the intentions of others. If there's not, then we have already traveled far too long down the wrong path. The ideal for any solution should be that everyone involved is pleased with it. Otherwise, it's probably not the final solution. In the world of business, this is called a win-win situation. Any business deal should be such, or the price of it will rise for all those involved. One more time. Must be a bad fire. So, any business deal should be such, or the price of it will rise for all those involved in one way or another. The essence of a conflict is that some want to get what others don't want to give up. This really means that we focus on the other one's loss rather than on our own gain. If we concentrate on the gain, we are sure to find a solution where it is shared. If we don't have that goal, we are just as sure to share the loss. Therefore, the best way to find a solution is to not search for one's own gain, but for that of the others involved. If you begin by understanding and respecting that, you will be surprised by how easy it is to reach an outcome beneficial to you as well. If all people do the same, the world will shine. That is a great philosophy, and it's a great theory. If both sides are dealing honestly and with the same intent. Unfortunately, we live in a world where that can get you messed up. I don't know whether you, instead of exactly, Sherry, some tons of people suck. I mean, doing the right thing sometimes gets you um on the wrong side of people. I had a district manager going off on me this morning because of me changing training to fit OSHA, and he wanted me to cut some corners, and I'm not willing to do it. So um, that it is what it is, right? Some people suck. I believe in the adage of doing the right thing, uh, no matter what it costs you. So it's worked out to my advantage more than it hasn't. So, all right, folks, we will do chapter 9, probably 10 tomorrow. These are supposed to be short. We'll hit some 1054 and all that in 27 minutes. Until then, everybody be well. Lucy, feel better. Wrangler, wired up Wrangler, that is. Get that laundry done, bud. All right. I'll see y'all in a few.